without further ado, let's get this party started because we have lots of great content to cover. So thank you again for joining us for this episode of the Parental Guidance series. We are so grateful for UHealth Jackson Children's Care, who is hosting this series. Goodness, I wish I knew which episode we were on. We have to have done at least 15 or 20 of these episodes. And if you've missed any, including part 1 of this nutrition series, you can go to jacksonevents.org at any time, and you can watch the recordings of all of the previous ones. So if you've joined us before, I'd love to hear in the comments. Tell us, which ones you've joined us for in the past, but welcome if it's your first time. My name is Sierra Bragan, and I'm the owner and founder of Miami Mom Collective. And Miami Mom Collective is Miami's premier parenting resource and community. So we have a website, we're on all the social media channels, and we produce content, resources, and helpful information for parents, as well as we host events for moms and for families. So if you are a local mom, if you're not a local mom, check us out still at miamimomcollective.com. I am sure there's a good resource that will encourage you there. So it's my joy and honor to host tonight. And I do want to tell you a couple things about UHealth Jackson Children's Care. So you may not be aware, but the pediatric emergency rooms at Holtz Children's Hospital and Jackson North are available 24/7. And Holtz Children is actually a 24-hour kids only emergency room. So if you ever have a need for that, I hope you don't, but want to make that aware to you so that you can get the best healthcare possible. And the wonderful thing about these systems is all of the staff there are board certified pediatric emergency medicine specialists. So you're getting access to the very best, not only from the Jackson Health System, but also from the University of Miami Health System. So you're getting all that amazing healthcare right there in one place. And then at the Holtz Children's Hospital, the doctors and the nurses are certified in pediatric advanced life support. So hopefully these are things that you never need, but if you do, I just want to make you aware of the amazing care that is available there. So we are going to dive right in. I'm so excited again about tonight. We're going to be talking about nutrition. We have a number of questions we've already received. Again, if you have a particular question at any point tonight, drop those in the Q&A box. But I am thrilled to welcome back for the second time, Dr. Amanda Fifi. Welcome, Dr. Fifi. We're so glad you're here.
Hi, thank you for having me again.
Yes. And I have to tell you a little bit about her. She has so much amazing experience in training. She is the pediatric gastroenterologist. I always have the hardest time with that word. And also the director of nutrition in the Department of Pediatrics at the University of Miami. So she completed her training both in pediatrics and in gastroenterology at the University of Miami and Jackson Memorial Hospital. So she actually started Jackson's first dedicated nutrition clinic. So she sees patients with a wide variety of nutritional complaints, including obesity, underweight, picky eaters, food allergies, children who need specialized diets, along with she's a registered dietitian who counsels these patients at every visit. So she really has something to speak to for everyone listening here tonight. She has published original research on nutrition, and she continues to actively research, which is amazing because I feel like we're going to get really the best, most up-to-date, relevant information. I feel like sometimes in nutrition, I feel like, there's those things that are always consistent, but then things are changing, and I'm all these, fad kind of diet things that are going, and I'm like, well, how do I feed myself and my kids? Anyways, Dr. Fifi is going to answer it all tonight. She has always also written for the Miami Herald and other web-based publications. So she is really committed to supporting the health of children through maintaining healthy nutrition and growth. And just her being here tonight is proof of that. So Dr. Fifi, thank you for joining us. And we've got lots of questions for you. So we're just going to jump right in and get started. But again, thank you for joining us. And later on, those of you that are listening, if you'll stay with us, we're going to spend about 30 minutes here with Dr. Fifi, and then we're going to transition. We've got a special guest who's going to give us some actual hands-on recipes and some ideas for feeding your kids. So stay tuned. But let's start out, Dr. Fifi, and tell us, how can we better understand nutrition labels and things like sodium and sugar? Because I look at the label and I'm like, okay, well, it's low sodium, but it's high sugar, or it's high protein, but it's low fiber. I mean, how do I discern it all?
Okay, so thank you first for that introduction. It's like a big
Yeah,
shoes to fill when you get such a glowing introduction. I hope I can answer everything.
of course.
But I mean, so food labels is something that we talk about with our patients, when we see them at the nutrition clinic that we do with my dietitian. I mean, we try not to be obsessive about food labels. Of course, we also like to tell parents, like shop around the grocery store, like on the outside, because those are the way the foods don't have labels. So you would be
Right.
getting more fresh fruits, vegetables. So there's no labels, your eggs and stuff, there's less labeling. It becomes more difficult when you get into the packaged foods and everything's labeled and you don't really know what's in the food. So we try to limit those as much as possible, but obviously we're all very busy and sometimes we do have to use prepackaged food, which is totally acceptable. And so what I try to tell parents is the easy way to understand the food label without having to know how much protein does my child need in a day, how much sugar does my child need in a day, how much is okay, is that they usually give you it as a percentage of the RDA. So the RDA is the recommended daily allowance, which has been decided, based on studies. They decide how much protein, how much sugar, how much sodium, how much iron is necessary for a day. So if they give you the percentage, then I try to tell my parents, like, okay, if you look at this food and you say this has 25% of the daily requirement of sugar in this snack, your kid is not going to eat 4 of those an entire day because that's going to be 100%. So if throughout an entire day, they can survive on the side, on that portion 4 times, then they can have it. If that is just a snack, you're getting 25% of the sugar just in that one serving. Right. And so it's definitely going to be a very high sugar content. And if you were to eat your regular meals, in addition to that snack, you're definitely going to go over your sugar requirement for the day. That's will hold true for things like sodium and saturated fats, which are the things that we want to avoid. For things like fiber, like those are usually our good parts of the, protein and fiber are usually the good parts. That going a little over is not a bad thing because fiber usually helps us stay full. It's good for you to have extras. In protein, it's studies have shown that if you eat more protein, you usually won't gain more weight. So if you needed to get extra calories in, you could eat more protein, but you won't have weight gain as a result of it. And so those percentages become less important because those are like more your healthy calories versus sugars and saturated fats are the ones that we want to pay attention to and make sure that it's appropriate for the size meal that your child's about to have.
That's good. That's good. I love just starting out with that tip. It's such a good reminder of shopping the perimeter of the grocery store, because that's when things get really gray of like, what am I actually eating when I'm like shopping in the middle? So an avocado doesn't have a label because we know what it is. So that's awesome. Talk to us about what are easy ways to ensure that our kids are getting the full servings of fruits, vegetables, and proteins per day. Because I feel like my kids get a week's worth of fruit in like one day, because my kids love fruit.
Yes. I know we have people from all over the, like I saw some people join from the Caribbean and I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. I saw somebody join from Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, love it.
I'm very happy about that. But, and people from Canada. I mean, the good thing about, we call it the typical childhood American diet. We refer to a lot and we do research. But, it's pretty typical in most countries that you're going to get your amount of protein in a day. Like our diets are pretty dairy heavy or meat heavy or egg. Right. So usually we use a lot of rice and beans in the Caribbean and stuff like that as well. And definitely here in Miami. And so your protein content is going to be very rare unless your child has another medical problem that you're not going to meet protein requirements, or if you're practicing strict veganism or very restricted diets because you think they have food allergies or something else. But if you're eating a typical diet, your protein is very likely that you're going to meet all your protein requirements. So I wouldn't worry about protein requirements. Okay. In terms of other sources, like other nutritional things that you might need, if you want to ensure that your child's getting enough, iron or fiber or other things like that, then you would just want to eat a wide variety of different types of food. Most times in our diets, like, as I said, we have more, typical American diet is low in fiber because we're not getting, so fruits and vegetables are more difficult, and it's more difficult for everybody's children. So I don't want people to feel like, it's only their children don't want to eat fruits and vegetables. That's a problem I see with my own children, and I see with children that I take care of, throughout Miami. So one easy thing that I try to tell parents is, first of all, we know, so the recommended daily requirement of fruits and vegetables per day is 6 to 9 servings. So I usually just say 8, but let's say, so it's 9 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. And I always tell the kids when they're in my clinic, that's for everybody, so that the parents know, like, it's not just for the kids to do, because it's not, you can't expect them to do one thing and then you're doing something, something really different. So it's 9 servings, 6 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables per day. And the good thing is, like, we don't, you know, you might like, oh, servings, I don't even know what that means. Like, how hard is it to get that? How am I going to get a kid to eat 9 servings? A serving is roughly a handful for that person. So that if your little 2-year-old handful can hold like 4 grapes, that's a 1 serving of fruits and vegetables right there.
Okay, that's a
Little,
good tip.
you know, half of an apple, that's 1 serving right there. So it's not enormous amounts. And the same thing for adults, right? So if you want, so I tell parents, like, if you eat about 4 times a day, you just do 2 handfuls. So you have a snack would be 2 handfuls or 2 snacks a day. And then your 3 meals, you do 2 handfuls of fruits and vegetables with that, and you'll meet your requirements. Definitely.
Okay.
So yeah, so that would make it easier for the kids too.
Okay.
So, you know, easier for you to gauge like how much exactly that you want.
Yeah, I'm saying the visual is super helpful.
Yeah, exactly. Another way you can do it is these plates that we use. I mean, Americans, which I've also an American, so I'm not bragging on anybody. We use really huge plates, right? So like when I came from Trinidad, we used plates this big, but now we use plates this huge. Yeah. And so it just makes our portions go up more and more. Once you find the appropriate plate size for your child's age, and you know, there's great resources to find that online. There's something called myfoodplate.gov, which is a site that gives really good information and has lots of little tips and links that you can go on and ways to encourage kids to use food. And I refer my patients to it a lot. But if you get the appropriate plate size for your kid, half of the plate should be fruits and vegetables. So that's another way to easily do it. So when we put out our food for our dinner, we should put 1/4 of the plate with protein, 1/4 of the plate with carbohydrates, and half of the plate should be fruits or veggies.
Vegetables. Okay. Oh, that's so good. I'm so good with visual. So I feel like, and that's something great we can teach our kids. We can talk to them and say, hey, look, here's your, you know, making it interactive for them.
Exactly.
That is so good. What about, are there certain, you know, nutrients, protein, fiber, whatnot, that a child could have too little of or too much? Like when should we be concerned?
Yeah. So as I said, again, protein, you're probably going to be good with. And, you know, there've been multiple studies like in athletes and, you know, in adults where if you give extra protein, you don't put on extra weight unless it's going to be muscle building weight. So if you're working out, you can build more muscle if you eat extra protein. But if you surplus protein in a regular person that's not doing any extra weightlifting or muscle building exercise, they're not going to gain extra weight, which is why we would say, like, if you want to lose weight, you add lean chicken breast or almonds or protein powder to food. Protein can make you feel full, so you stay full for longer, but you don't gain weight from it, versus fat and sugar, that if you add extra calories, fat and sugar, you would definitely gain weight once you go over your daily allowance. For fiber, notoriously, like, so I'm scared to say this, it is a way to go over the amount of fiber, but it's very rare that's going to happen, because you get your fiber from fruits and vegetables, especially, you know, the ones with skin on it, and the leafy vegetables, the fruits with the skin. And so it's very rare that anybody is going over their fiber allowance, because we need 9 servings of it in a day. Oh, wow. So you need to be eating so much fruits and vegetables.
The whole bag of spinach.
Exactly. But that said, I do have vegan older kids. So I have like some vegan, you know, 18-year-olds, 19 college kids, who they do complain sometimes they get super gassy if they eat too much, because they're eating like broccoli and kale and spinach all day. So then you could get bloating and gassiness from too much fiber, but it's so rare that most times if your kid is bloated or gassy, it's because of too little fiber, because they're getting probably constipated, like they're not pooping right. So I would never tell anybody that's a typical occasion that you're going to eat too much fruits and vegetables. Like, just the more the merrier.
Keep them coming. That's good. On that note, we received a question. One mom is asking, you know, her child eats animal protein, great fruits and vegetables, but he's just not gaining weight. And I would assume he's probably healthy, maybe not underweight, but he's not gaining weight. Is that a reason to be concerned, or? Yeah.
So for us, it depends on the age of the child, of course, but for kids, definitely until they complete puberty, we always want them to gain weight. So we don't ever want them to not be gaining weight. And that's a red flag for us if we have a kid that's not intentionally trying to not gain weight. So if I had an obese kid or an overweight kid that I was working with, of course, but if I had a kid that was just living life and they were not gaining weight, that would be a red flag. Obviously, I'm also a gastroenterologist, so that's a red flag for us to look for other conditions outside of just nutrition. But most times it is, if there's nothing else going on, it is related to nutrition. And I know I have to tell my parents all the time that when we want to lose weight, I eat fruits, veggies, and lean animal protein, because that does not make you gain weight. Kids need a lot of calories for their body weight, for their body size. So comparable to us, they need a lot more calories. If you take you know, if you do, we work out the amount of calories that kids need per kilogram of body weight. When you're a newborn baby, you need 100 calories per kilogram of body weight. You need a ton. When you're an adult like us, you need like 30 calories per kilogram of body weight. You need such a little bit because you're growing at a very fast pace. Exactly. So if you just do, we know lettuce and broccoli and apples, they're all great for us, but they don't have a ton of calories. And so kids need healthy fats to grow. It is definitely a requirement to have healthy fats. And that's why I always differentiate the fats, because people think fat is bad, but saturated fats is what we want to avoid. Healthy fats, like in avocado, as you talked about, in eggs, in dairy products, in olive oil, in multiple different types of oil, not just olive oil, avocado oil, there's grapeseed oil, there's multiple different types of fats, healthy animal fats that are good for your children and that they do need to support growth. So if I saw a kid that was struggling with growth, I would find ways to encourage healthy fats into the diet.
Okay, great. Oh, that's awesome. You answered that one. Perfect. Okay, on that, let's think about what are maybe some food items that parents would be surprised at how unhealthy they are? Because maybe we're feeding our kids things and we're like, whoops, shouldn't have fed them that. You know, like what would we be surprised about?
I think it's so common that it happens. And the reason why is, I'm not anti-media, but the reason why is because whoever's making the product wants to sell it to you and they'll say almost anything for you to buy it. That's right. So certain things, I mean, there's so many of them. It's obviously different for each parent, but I would say definitely all natural, 100% organic juice is not necessary in any child's diet and is not a health benefit for any child. Beyond, as much as you think ice cream is a benefit, that's a health benefit. There's no real benefit to all natural 100% juice. It's much better for children to eat fruit. They get the fiber when they eat the fruit as well, and drink water. Parents will always tell me, but I make my own orange juice, or I make my own mango juice. And I always ask them, if you want to make 100% orange juice, how many oranges do you need just for 8 ounces of juice? You need like 8 to 10 oranges to make 8 ounces of 100% all natural orange juice. If you told me my 3-year-old is eating 10 oranges 2 or 3 times a day, I would say that's way too much sugar. Even if it's coming from a fruit, it's still way too much sugar. They shouldn't be eating that much. And so that's why juices. The other thing that's a pet peeve of mine is Gatorade, because people think Gatorade, oh, they did PE, so I gave him Gatorade. Like Gatorade, I will say it's like, it's advertised by LeBron James, and etc., because you have to do that level of activity to need Gatorade. Beyond that level of activity, even in college sports now, they're using a much more fruit with water. Like if you want to replenish your child after exercise, have them eat fruit and drink water. Much healthier way to do it than to drink Gatorade. Gatorade has more sugar than soda. So Gatorade has more sugar than Sprite or Coke in the regular Gatorade. And your kid is not working out that rigorously unless they're running a marathon or playing, 3 hours of sports, running aggressively to need Gatorade for rehydration. The other thing is a lot of brands of apple juice, even if you look at the toddler brands, which is really sad that there's toddler apple juice, you'll see that they have more sugar than Sprite. So many brands of apple juice actually have more sugar than Sprite. The parents would not know that. I mean, this is something I could go on and on, because obviously I do a nutrition clinic. And so it's the one thing I'm always trying to tell parents, like, these companies are trying to fool us. Another one would be yogurt, that they tried to fool you with the low fat yogurts. So as we said, you need healthy fats are a necessary part of your diet. So protein, lots of vitamins, lots of minerals, and fats are a necessary part. Sugar is not really necessary, right? So you can live a completely normal life without having sugar in your diet. Whereas fats, if you didn't have fat, there's something called essential fatty acid deficiency, which means that you get a syndrome related to not having fat in your diet, where you get rash and they can lose your hair and they get sick. And we see it in kids that have medical problems that this happens. So when they say it's a low fat version of ice cream or low fat yogurt, and they put, the Go-Gurt on it and they market it for kids, and they want to entice you with the low fat, it's usually because they've added a ton of sugar to it to make it low fat. And so now it's super high sugar because they want to maintain the taste, right?
No one's going to put a high sugar label on there.
Exactly. So they put whatever they think is the one good thing that's going to entice you. It's like gluten-free. A lot of times people think, oh, gluten-free, that means it's healthy. And gluten-free has its role in patients that need gluten intolerant, have celiac disease and need gluten-free food. but regular gluten-free food is not necessarily healthy for regular population consumption, because to make gluten-free muffins or pancakes or cake taste good, or pasta, a lot of things have to be added to it. So it's very high in saturated fats. A lot of times, if you read the labels and compare, it will be very high. Like if you look at a tortilla, gluten-free or not, you'll see it's more calories, more fat, more sodium, because it just doesn't, unfortunately, taste as good for our palates as what we're accustomed to. And so to make it taste good, they put a ton of junk in it
all the added
to
stuff, so
imitate you taste. And so people see, oh, gluten-free, that seems healthy. I'm trying to lose weight. Like parents will come and tell me, oh, I'm trying to lose weight, so I'm doing gluten-free. And then obviously it's obviously the reverse, because they're eating more calories and more unhealthy food by eating the gluten-free unnecessarily. So, I mean, as I said, I could go on that for hours, because
it's so good.
It's so many.
You're striking a chord, because the questions are like flying in. Yeah. So on that note, people are saying, well, what about Greek yogurt? What about sugar-free Gatorade? Like, what would be your tips there?
But Greek yogurt is like my favorite thing. I tell everybody to take it. I eat it all the time, and so do my children. I love Greek yogurt.
The original, plain, right? Or like,
well, I mix it with fruits. So I do it with fruits. I mean, it's still low sugar. It's still normal sugar, meaning not high sugar, if you do it with fruit, or you can do your own fruit. So you could just puree your own strawberries or whatever fresh and mix it in as well. Right. Greek yogurt is good because it has normal fat. So it'll never usually, there's not really much brands of low fat Greek yogurt. It'll be normal fat, normal sugar, meaning proportion meant for that size of a snack, and high protein. So it makes you feel full for longer, which is why I love to eat it. So I have it as a snack, like as a mid-morning snack or whatever, because you have about 10 to 12 grams of protein in it. It makes you feel full. And if you look at it, most Greek yogurt brands have about 90 to 110, depending on the flavor, calories. So you're going to get 100-calorie snack that's going to keep you full potentially for 3 or 4 hours. And obviously for kids that might need it, if they're not drinking a lot of milk and other things, you get your servings of dairy. And like for us too, as women, like we get our calcium and stuff in with having dairy, having the dairy from the yogurt. So Greek yogurt is definitely a favorite of mine. I recommend it a lot.
That's great.
I can't remember what the other one.
On that note, I'm sorry, more yogurt questions. What about active yogurt? People are asking about active yogurt.
Yeah, so I think the most important is so don't nitpick on the type, Greek yogurt is a big general. So there's yogurt that has, most yogurt is going to have live cultures in it. And that's it. Once your child doesn't have a serious medical problem that prevents them from having probiotics, which is very rare, so most kids can tolerate it, then those are safe and fine. There's lots of studies on probiotics and the problem on, active cultures in yogurts and the need for probiotics. We're all in research medicine, big believers that probiotics or your bacteria in your body is very valuable to even obesity. And there actually was a study, this is very interesting, out of Israel, where they measured people's stool and saw how much bacteria was in it. And then from that, found all the thin people with the type of bacteria they have, the obese people, and then you can do change to try and give probiotics to change the bacteria to mimic that of the thinner people, that people might think, oh, I'm genetically big or I'm genetically a certain way. And sometimes it's the bacteria that's actually influencing the way we gain weight. The problem with probiotics is that they're not easy to use or manufacture or control, so that we have so many studies, these studies that come out, and then so many companies, some of them very are doing it for all the right reasons. Some of them are trying to make money, make a ton of probiotics and put them on the market and flood it. And it's not FDA regulated. So it could be anything in there. You don't really know what it is. And we don't really know how well as humans we can manipulate, our own bacteria for benefit, for sure. We don't know for sure that you could definitely do that by taking these pills. So these studies are all over the place, but I still recommend them. So I think in active, but I would not eat, yogurt with cultures in it, with a ton of sugar. Then I would say, okay, I would want to make sure that it's low sugar, normal fats, so good healthy fats and healthy protein as well.
Awesome. Great. Okay. So many questions. Dr. Fifi, you're doing an awesome job with these. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about picky eaters, because we're getting picky eater questions. Okay. What if, moms are saying my child's a picky eater, they refuse to taste new things. Do you have any tips? And, one mom is saying my child is just emotional and disgusted when I ask her to try new things, but she's consuming a lot of dairy, protein, How can we help these families with picky eaters?
So it's a really tough question. And I mean, a really tough problem. And lots of people have it. I also experience it with my own children. I think from the one thing, which is, it might be too late for that now for some people, including myself, is as soon as the earlier you start children exposing them to a lot of different things, the better it would be. So we want to expose to a wide variety of foods early on, if possible. So meaning from 6 months, once you start introducing foods, you want to make the food, give a lot of different tastes and textures and choices to children, colors and shapes of foods and stuff like that. The other thing would be getting the kid involved. So when they're older, getting them involved in their food. So I always tell, like when I give them the, you need 9 servings of vegetables and the child looks like horrified in the room. I always tell them, so you all could go to the grocery store together to this weekend and go pick out what you want, because there's all kinds of odd, especially if you could go to a market or like a farmer's market or something where there's all different types of strange new fruits and stuff like that they might be willing, if they bought it and saw it and everything, to try. They may be more willing. And then also if you include them in the preparation, so cutting it up, and they're older, actually preparing, make it into a fruit salad, so a fresh fruit salad, and have them involved in that. For the younger kids, we try things with different shapes, so cutting it into fun shapes, making it look pretty. So I sometimes do caterpillar shapes on the plate, or you do a scene with flowers and stuff like that. So that if you're 6-year-old girl, she might be more willing to eat a flower, which is watermelon cut into a flower or something, than just a regular slice. And then the final thing will be obviously by example, which is hard for a lot of us, but to have that's the type, that's what happens in our house. So that's the food that we buy in our house. This is the food that's available in our house. This is the way that we eat, and this is the way we all eat. Obviously if I don't eat any vegetables, my child is probably by example not going to want to try vegetables or be involved. So as much as we can. The final thing I'll say on that though is that don't get too bogged down. Obviously we all want our children to be the most varied eaters. I have a vegetarian by choice son who is 12, and he's I was telling him, you're a vegetarian who doesn't eat vegetables. I don't think that's possible, but he's very picky. Exactly. He's very picky on his vegetable choices. But I always tell my parents, when you're in the picky phase, obviously we keep offering, keep showing, I keep eating different types of vegetables in front of him. I get him involved in the prep of it, but don't get too bogged down at that point. If you have the picky eater stage, give them the vegetables or fruits that you can get them to eat. So don't just think, oh, he doesn't want to eat this, 5 different types of vegetables, he'll only eat 2. And I say, okay, pick those 2 and make sure you're including that in meals every day. So my son will eat carrot sticks, he'll eat cucumber, he'll eat lettuce, he'll eat all. It's I'll make a salad with that, and he literally will have to eat that every day. He'll have a salad with that, because that's what I can get him to eat, and then use the fruits for the other versions. So don't feel too stressed out if they're not wanting to try a variety of things. Keep offering, but stick to your staples if that's what works, so that you at least know you're getting the fiber and you're keeping them on the track of knowing eating vegetables could be fun and taste good as well.
Great. Make it fun, be an example, and keep exposing them. Just don't give up. I remember hearing eventually more, introducing them to the same foods. That's so good. What about on the note of your son who's the vegetarian, what are some good vegan meat substitutes moms are wanting to know?
Yeah, so this is a tough one, because again, it's packaged, and so it's really hard if you're good. I mean, I am not. So, we have another guest who's much more experienced than me in the actual preparation of food. I like most moms, and I'm sure like Patty, the chef herself, is very busy, and so it's not easy to prepare meat to alternative lentils or something for me, so that I'm going to prepare it in a full meal. So I do have to buy the prepackaged stuff a lot of times. And it's hard, because if you look at even the Impossible Whopper, obviously people love it. It came out of Burger King, and people think, I have patients now, that I'm eating this healthy choice because I chose the vegan Impossible Whopper. And if you look at the nutrient profile of the vegan veggie Whopper, it's the same of the Impossible Whopper. It's the same. On some areas, actually, a slightly worse, but for the most part, the same as the actual Whopper. So they add a lot of cholesterol, it has a lot of extra saturated fats. It has a lot of sodium, because they want to have the taste mimic the taste of that. So it's not that easy if you're going to do it with package. If you want to find meat alternatives that look like the meat or taste like the meat. If you're okay with not using meat alternatives, but actually using real food, then you can get all the full amount of protein and that your child needs, protein and iron. It just, you have to be a little bit more studious about it. So if you decide to have a vegetarian child, then you can use legumes or multiple different types of peas and beans. You can use peanuts and nuts. So once they don't have a nut allergy, nuts are a great source of protein and good healthy fats as well. I do a lot of peanut butter. Obviously, if they will eat eggs, if they, depends on the type of vegetarian, how strict they are. If they will eat dairy, you can do that as well. And try to get the meat sources through real food, the protein sources, through real food, like vegetable protein instead.
Great. Flipping back to the juices, I learned something interesting because I thought, man, if you're juicing things at home, like that's pretty good, but great note about the fiber. What about, people are still asking, well, what about the sugar-free Gatorade things or low sugar?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
same thing, right? It's like,
if you're like obviously if you have like a 4-year-old or something that's never had Gatorade, I would definitely stay clear and not have it at all. But I do see a lot of teenagers because I do a dedicated obesity clinic. And so I see a lot of teenagers, 11, 12-year-olds where they're drinking Gatorade every day. It's kind of, or juice every day. It's kind of unreasonable for me to expect them to make real change by saying, oh, you're drinking water now from the rest of your life, like give it up. So then I do recommend switching to G2, which is the low sugar Gatorade, or using Crystal Light or something that they could add. There have been studies that show when we use artificial sugars to sweeten things that your body craves the real sugar more, like you get more food cravings. They're not, obviously, no study is like completely definitive and there's not perfect research around it, but there is a thought. So that's why with young children, I would try not to introduce them to that if I didn't have to. But when you're already having it, then, and you're already like struggling with weight or diabetes or hypertension or stuff like that, then lesser of two evils, then I will go to using the low calorie, like even the Capri Sun has like that Roaring Waters version that has like 10 calories in it, but obviously they use a bunch of artificial sweeteners. So ideal would be the fruit and water, but if they have to, then
what about fruit infused water? Is that something worth doing for kids?
I do that. My son says it tastes horrible. He says it tastes horrible, but so I do say it tastes worse than water is what he told me. So I do, I put fruits in it, but I mean, mostly because a day, like, I'm trying to feel fancy or something, I put all my fruits in the water and drink it. And then, you just drink the water and then you can chew the fruit. So you can eat the fruits out of it. I think that's totally fine because you're getting all the fiber, all the skin is on the fruit. Usually it's with berries, or cucumber or something. So it's totally fine. If they like it, that can work great, especially if they eat the fruit as well. But some kids don't like it.
That's great. This is so good. I'm sorry I'm firing questions at you, but we just have so many and you've got great answers. So talk to us about vitamins. Is it possible for kids to have too many vitamins? Are you a proponent of vitamins?
So I'm again not a good proponent. I'm a big proponent of vitamins, and I think it's such a good, so many health benefits and stuff that we might not notice are happening by lack of having minerals, especially iron or calcium or diet or vitamins. But I am a big believer that you can get it all from real food. And in the typical childhood American diet, if we're eating most children, so like if we did a study where we took children and just randomly tested for deficiencies, iron will probably be the one that we would see, especially in little ones, so 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, because they're not getting enough iron. They don't eat a lot of meats and stuff like that. But if you took regular kids and screen them, most of them are going to be vitamin sufficient because we require very small quantities of vitamins. So unless you're pregnant or lactating or have a medical problem, usually you don't need additional vitamins if you're eating a lot of different types of food. So again, vitamins are not regulated. There are a lot of marketing gimmicks around vitamins. And so if you test the urine of children that take vitamins or adults, most times all the vitamins are in the urine because they're just peeing it out because they don't need that extra. Exactly. So you're just wasting money.
You just get that sugar-coated gummy satisfaction and through.
If you have an exceptionally picky eater or, stuff like that you're dealing with, I think it could be fair. And obviously it's not harmful. It might just be a waste of money, but I don't think in the regular life of a regularly growing child who's, normal, most people don't need vitamins. You just get it in the food and they're much more bioavailable in the food, meaning that if you eat a certain amount of apple, you're going to get, or orange or whatever, you're going to get the vitamin C more than if you took it in a pill because your body, it's more natural. It's not made in a lab, obviously. Yeah. Your body knows how to absorb that natural type better. It's more suited to absorbing it naturally.
That's great. So one of the questions is about, well, how do we, make healthy choices? It's expensive at the grocery store, but I would say put the vitamins back because those are expensive too, and use that budget on real food.
Exactly. So I would say put the vitamins back, put the gluten-free back. That's very expensive food, unnecessary, unless you have celiac disease or you're under a doctor's care that says that you need gluten-free. I would say that, try to buy fruits and vegetables as much as you can, that could be affordable. You know, as I said, if you have to buy the cheaper ones, so like apples and stuff like that, they may be, obviously it's all relative for everybody, but if you are capable of buying, you know, going to markets or places that might be more affordable than a grocery store, trying to aim for the fruits and vegetables instead of the packaged food would be better. Frozen fruits and vegetables as well can be an option. So if you have frozen veggies, that at least it would last longer, because I think that's the main part of the cost. It's not necessarily that if you buy a bag of apples, it's that much more expensive than a box of cereal, but it is that when it spoils, then it is worse for you, because when you buy a lot of fruits and vegetables, like either you want to go to the grocery store, you know, twice a week, or your food is going to spoil. So if you can use frozen versions, or even if you buy the fresh and you see, oh, they're about to, I'm always cutting up and freezing stuff. So we'll freeze squash or we'll freeze pears, and then just use them after, like, you know, you can defrost and use them in a puree after to add to yogurt or something like that. And so it is difficult, and it's hard because even fast food, like everything is cheaper and it's made in a cheaper way. And so without policy that helps control, and that's another thing that I know the last time, if anybody was here, I talk about a lot, is that, you know, we have to have policy that helps support families being able to provide healthy food for their children. And unfortunately, I don't have those powers, but you know, powers of voting or writing your representatives and trying to get policy that supports healthy food being affordable is necessary.
And it's just, you know, we can have a short-sighted vision, or we can have a long-sighted, you know, man, this avocado or whatever is $1, so expensive, you know, but more expensive in the long run are the health issues that I may face, or my children may face, because of the habits we're creating now. So it's like, 100%. How can we?
Exactly. And I see, I mean, it's shocking sometimes the things I come home and tell my family that I see 13-year-olds that we have to start on insulin. I see, you know, I see 14 and 15-year-olds that were taking their gallbladders out because they have gallstones because of obesity, not because of anything else, because not be a medical problem, because of obesity. I have kids on hypertensive medications. We just had a 12-year-old at Jackson do bariatric surgery. So I now have a 13-year-old and now have an 18-year-old that are requesting bariatric surgery. So these things are big, impactful things on your child's life. And so, I mean, it's obviously easy for me to say, so try as your best to buy it. But I think, we have to find a way to make it affordable for families to be able to get healthy food.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, Dr. Fifi, so much good information. We've got about 3 or 4 more minutes, and then we're gonna transition. So I don't know, we're gonna get through all the questions, but here they come. I'm gonna keep them coming. We'll do like a blitz round. Let's talk quickly about kids with allergies. How early do food allergies present themselves in children? How do we navigate this?
Yeah. So that's a loaded question, but I'll try to be as quick as I can. I talk very fast, so maybe that helps. So milk allergy can actually present in a newborn period. So in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and we have some kids that present with milk allergy. That's usually diagnosed by a doctor. You would have, it would be pretty obvious. That's one of the few things that you obviously will see early on, because that's the only thing kids are exposed to when they're that young. Food allergies, that said, can really present at any time. This is one of those areas where you talk about research changing, where research changed a lot. So a long time ago, we used to say, don't give the foods and wait to give it because they're going to get allergic. And it's actually now the opposite of that. And so they're actually tens of $1,000 programs. If you Google them, you can see, I don't want to call any names, where they have programs to introduce allergens to your kids when they're in the infant stage. So like you add this powder to the formula and it contains nuts and soy and all these things, so that your 5-month-old and 6-month-old is getting exposed to the allergens early, because our studies now have shown that the earlier you introduce them, the immature immune system does not think to attack this food. They get accustomed to it, and then they can tolerate it throughout life. And so with like my own children, I would put like peanut, like, by the time they turn 6 months, I start introducing foods. I would put like peanut butter on their lips first, and then a little peanut butter in his mouth to make sure that I don't want him to get a peanut allergy. You try seafood, I try shrimp. The thing is, a lot of those foods parents get scared of, and we leave it until they're 2 years old. Now the kid has this hyped up immune system from the 300 colds they've gotten and infections, and then is ready to erroneously attack food that is innocent. And so actually the earlier on you introduce food, so from 6 months, 5 or 6 months, when your doctor tells you it's safe to start doing solids, you try to introduce a wide variety of the foods, and usually it will be a better outcome. The one other thing I'll say about that is just remember, and it's really important because some doctors don't even say this to their patients, when you have a food allergy, you do not usually stay with that allergy for your whole life. So seafood, pretty common to stay for a long time, and peanuts. The other food allergies usually do not stay for your whole life. And so we always re-challenge children. So if you have an allergy, you say, oh, my child's allergic to milk or something, then I give them a break of 6 months, a year of milk. And then we try, okay, let's try small amounts again of cooked milk. Let's try some butter. Let's try some cheese. And then we try to get dairy back into diet so they don't stay on a lifelong restricted diet. Most children's immune systems are constantly changing and they will lose multiple food allergies if you reintroduce them with your doctor's care.
Awesome. So great. Thank you for touching on that. So interesting how the research has changed.
Yes.
Okay, maybe last one. Maybe I can do a couple lightning ones if we do this one quick. But kids get hungry at the most inopportune times. Like, what are some simple, healthy snacks I can put in my purse, carry around with me, and it's good stuff to be slinging at the kids when they're hungry?
So I would do fruits and vegetables for that, which is what I would do, like an apple. I do tangerines. Lots of kids like tangerines and parents might not try it that much. I do carrot sticks. I use peanut butter a lot as a healthy snack because it's filling and it's fat, and I guess fat and protein as well. It's not just a sugar base. I try to avoid sugar only snacks, and at least if they have sugar in them, that it's balanced with healthy fat and with protein. So I mean, yogurts, if you can keep it cold, you can keep it cold long enough, could be healthy snacks. And then, I mean, I'm not crazy mom. I definitely have my kids eat Cheerios and they definitely eat crackers and stuff like that. I just try to make it that if I'm going to give them crackers, I'll have, 10 grapes and then 5 crackers or something. So it's not like they always get accustomed. And as adults, we should always be accustomed to trying to have fruits or a vegetable with every time we eat, because that's what makes us feel full. That's what gives us makes us satisfied, because we get the fiber from the fruits. And it gives us a low calorie, healthy option. So we still get to taste the other foods that you like, but you're also getting the fruits and vegetables at the same time.
Awesome. Oh, Dr. Fifi, this is such good information. I feel like we need to make note for a part 3 because it's just, there's so much here. And man, this is something that clearly the questions that we have as adults, we're still working this stuff out. So it's so important. Obviously, you run this nutrition clinic, you're doing this day in and day out. So moms, dads, those who are listening in, if you've got more questions, just imagine sitting down with Dr. Fifi one-on-one about your particular situation. You can do that. And so her office is available to you there at Jackson. So Dr. Fifi
also do telemedicine as well. So
awesome.
So
Perfect.
Even for international patients and stuff, we do telemedicine. And you also meet with my dietitian, who's just as enthusiastic about food as me. So you get double dose.
And with your adorable accent, I just feel like I could listen to you all day. Talk to me about what I need to do. I'm like, okay, I'll do whatever you say, because you said it's so cute. Dr. Fifi, thank you. We are going to transition now. I know there's still a lot of questions, and I hate that. Hopefully we'll have some time at the end to get to more.
This is going to be the best part when they see Patty's kitchen.
I don't know. It's all good. So we're gonna put practical wheels on this nutrition car now. So we've got kind of the whole frame of the car, and now we're ready to drive this thing forward. I'm super excited to introduce to you our next guest, one of our amazing community partners, Chef Patty with the Mad Table. You can find her on Instagram at the Mad Table, and she wears many hats. Okay, she's not only a private chef. She hosts bi-weekly live cooking episodes for AvMed Help. She publishes a weekly Latin fusion recipes on YouTube. She teaches virtual cooking classes, summer camps for kids, and she does food styling projects for food bloggers and influencers. So she is definitely busy. She definitely knows all things food. You need to check out her website because it's beautiful and there's tons of recipes. So she has been styling food for commercials, print media, restaurants, all the things. So the behind the scenes part, she says, is one of her favorite things of the job, which is fun because tonight we're really going to get a behind the scenes look because we're actually in her kitchen with her. So Patty, thank you for being here. We're so excited to learn more about you and the Mad Table. And what do you have for us tonight? What are you cooking in your kitchen? Wait until you see her kitchen, guys. It's beautiful. And she's really up to something fun.
Hi there. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, but I can't see you. Let's see. Maybe we can ask you to start your video. I think there's a button to
I did.
Oh no, I'm still seeing. There you are. There she is. Wonderful. Chef Patty.
Hi there.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. So tonight we're gonna make a fruit pizza. So we're staying in theme with everything that Dr. Fifi said. I agree with her 100%. So we know that eating a lot of added sugars can cause obesity, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and all of that puts our children at risk of heart disease. So what we try to do is introduce them to fresh fruits, things that are natural, that's going to keep them healthy. Sometimes it's a little hard because it's not always affordable, right? But whenever you can. So today we're going to make a pizza with watermelon. Watermelon's not that pricey. Yeah. And
I love that it's called a pizza too, because who doesn't love pizza? And we can help reframe that for our kids. I love it.
Absolutely. And I think that one of the most important things is to be creative and make it fun for kids and make it really pretty and have them be part of the process, right? Something magical happens when children get to put their little hands in whatever it is that they're making. They're more open to trying these foods. So I always encourage parents to bring the kids in and let them get their hands dirty and just have fun in the kitchen. So I run a culinary camp, like you mentioned. This knife, I buy it on Amazon. They don't sponsor me or anything, but I really love giving the kids a knife at a young age. Obviously, it doesn't cut super great, but get them into the habit of just chopping. And first of all, they lose the fear of holding a knife and they gets them really comfortable. So here's a little tip that I always love to share. And this one is called Curious Chef. There's a gazillion brands. You can buy it online. So the first thing we're going to do is, so you grab a watermelon and you want to cut from the center. Okay. And you want to cut a piece that's about 2 or 3 inches thick. And then you want to dry. I like to dry it because if you don't dry it, when we spread our Greek yogurt, it's going to slide all over the place.
Love that.
So I am using Greek yogurt. Dr. Fifi, if she can hear us, I'm using Greek yogurt. I'm using a regular plain Greek yogurt, but you can buy vanilla if your child won't eat the plain. You can definitely, or you can infuse it with honey. Ooh. So that's always a good option. When you're spreading the yogurt, I like leaving the rim of the watermelon on the outside, the border a little exposed. So this is kind of like your cheese on a pizza.
I love it. I'm just thinking my daughter's already like, she's going to love this. I got to get all these supplies because she loves to help in the kitchen.
Yeah, and she would probably just love making it, right? Assembling it. So I've cut the strawberries in circles to make it look like pepperoni.
Cute.
So now we're just going to start adding our fresh fruit. And obviously you can get as creative as you want. You can use kiwi. I'm using strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, and blueberries. So I'm making a berry pizza. I wanted to buy some pomegranate and my Publix was out today. So no pomegranate, but pomegranate's always fun as well. So I have about 4 strawberries that I've sliced. You don't need a whole lot either. And then what I do with the blackberries is I slice them. So you just need a few. You don't need a crazy amount of fruit. And this is already looking beautiful.
I'm like, this is something you put on your table at a gathering, like a party. It's beautiful.
It looks a lot fancier than what it really is.
That's one of the things I love about your recipes, Patty. Some of them are actually very fancy and I get nervous trying your recipes, but they're always beautiful. Like the presentation, you really have that down. So I'll give you that.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, when I started in the beginning of the pandemic, I started doing live cooking demos on Instagram, but I just kept them really simple. I kind of like minimized my recipes. And I would make like chicken parmesan, just easy meals that parents want to make during the week. And everyone was like loving it. They're like, oh, I love easy meals. Okay, so I'm adding the blueberries. I've got some raspberries that I've also sliced in rings. And just putting these on top. So the last thing that we're gonna, well, two more things that I want to add. Since I'm using the plain yogurt, I'm gonna go ahead and drizzle a little honey.
Oh, yum and beautiful. That's gonna be a nice
It's
touch.
also gonna give the pizza some shine.
I'm gonna tag you when I try this because we are definitely trying this weekend.
Please do. So I've got some coconut flakes, and this is also optional.
Okay.
And this is unsweetened coconut flakes that I'm using. And we're done. Easy.
Awesome.
This is really easy. Kids, especially if you have one of those plastic knives, there's nothing here that they can't make at home.
That's great. Yeah, and letting them chop the fruit, that's something fun that they can be a part of. Okay, Chef Patty, I'm putting you on the spot, but I know you can handle it. Okay, what if we wanted to make something similar like this, but a veggie version? Like, you know, like a cold veggie pizza. Like, do you have any ideas for us of how to do that?
Sure. Let's see, what can we do? Well, we can always use like a flatbread if you want, if it's not, as long as it's not gluten-free. Does it have to be gluten-free?
No.
Okay, so we can make one with a flatbread, and then you can add zucchini, you can add carrots. A lot of kids don't like mushrooms. I think that zucchini is the one vegetable that I can sneak in. Zucchini and carrots, you can sneak in. It's very easy to sneak it into sauces for kids.
Right. I love that. And the thought of like, I'm going to get one of those knives because I think if I could get my child just involved in chopping it, she's going to try anything because she did it. You know, she's going to be so proud, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, look how cool.
Oh, look how fun. Love it. Love that. Oh, Chef Patty, this is so easy. We can all do this. And like you said, watermelon is like about to be really in season and it's cheap and affordable. This is a great tip.
It is. And it's loaded with water, like 92%. I think it's perfect for our summer weather, which is almost all year long. So you can't beat it. It keeps them hydrated also.
I love it. Chef Patty, thank you so much. And those of you who are listening, again, you can find her on Instagram at The Mad Table and also her website, themadtable.com. Tons of recipes, everything from cocktails to full dinners to desserts. She's got it all. Thank you so much, Chef Patty, for being with us. Dr. Fifi, if you're still there, we'd love to take just a few more questions and we'll wrap up our time. Chef Patty, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
That was so, and now she gets to eat it, and
that's right. And like
we have to watch. I want some.
Dr. Fifi, did you approve?
I like my mouth is watering. I had to turn my video off. I was like, I'm so hungry. Text my husband, like, do we have watermelon and strawberries and blueberries, please? I need a watermelon pizza. He was like, what are you talking about?
I love it. Where everyone's like, watermelon's going to go. There's going to be no watermelon in Miami available tomorrow because everybody's going to go for it. Wonderful. We do have just like 2 or 3 more minutes. So I want to throw a couple more questions at you.
I answered them in the chats. I typed in while we were talking and answered some I typed in some answers just so, they would have it.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Maybe we'll just get like 2 more. But let's talk quickly about how exercise plays a factor in balancing out what our kids eat. Does it make up for like the bad eating habits, or what's the balance there?
I always tell my kids in nutrition clinic, because obviously we definitely want to encourage exercise, right? So healthy exercise is part of a healthy life. Exercise is great for bone strength. It's great for, being outdoors. It's great for well-being, cardiovascular health, lung health. So there's real benefits. It's great for social play for kids. So real benefits to exercise. However, you would have to become a marathon runner for you to eat an unhealthy diet and expect exercise to balance it out. And I tell the kids all the time, and they say, oh, well, I just, when I drink juice, but then I go, I play PE or I run outside. if you look at, most juice, you take like one serving, they're going to have about 150 calories. If you needed to burn 150 calories, so like your one serving of juice that you have for, 3 times a day, if you wanted to burn just one of those, you would have to run about 1.5 miles, about 10-minute, 11-minute miles. So you would have to, not many kids are doing that. So you'd have to do 1.5 miles of running. So imagine if you're having 3 or 4 cups of juice, I tell them, you'd need to run 6 miles. I always tell them, you would have to run from your house to my office every time if you wanted to burn off all that
Suddenly
sugar.
the juice is not worth it. Yeah,
exactly. And if we look at things like fried chicken, I'm always trying to tell parents, which I know people love fried chicken, so I'm not trying to knock it too much. They're just better ways to maybe prepare the chicken, which is like in an oven. But if you look at fried chicken, so if you take a piece of chicken breast, grilled chicken breast, it's going to have usually typical about 180 calories. If you fry that exact same piece of chicken breast, it's going to have 3 times the amount of calories. So it's 450 calories by just frying it. And so if you eat that to burn off 450 calories from exercise, you would have to go play a competitive 3-hour NBA level basketball game to like burn, 600-800 calories. It's very hard to burn off calories from eating unhealthy food. Exercise's role, as I said, is more in other parts, and we definitely, everybody should be getting 30 to 60 minutes of exercise a day. Kids need about, another way I tell parents to get exercise in is kids need about 13,000 steps in a day. So adults need about 10 to 11,000 steps. Kids actually need more. They're little tiny feet. Wow. So they need about 13,000 steps in a day. And so if we think of like, especially, COVID pandemic and your kid on a computer and locked in your house, they're probably getting nowhere near to that. So it's so important to take them outside, and you see what they do once they get outside. Your 5-year-old, they run nonstop. They never want to sit down because they're getting their 13,000 steps that their body knows they need. So yeah, exercise is a role, but not to offset an unhealthy diet. It's really difficult.
Great. That makes me want to put my, tracker on my kid, my pedometer on my kid. How many steps did you get?
I try to get funding to get little trackers for kids so that they can have it. When they come to my obesity clinic, I could give them as like a goal. But yeah, that's not easy to get funding for.
Well, I know another a guest asked about, kids that are underweight, what can they give them? I remember you talked about healthy fats. Is that kind of what you would advise there?
Yes. Again? So healthy fats in dairy, especially if you eat regular diet. So dairy, eggs are going to be good. Meats, if you eat meat in your diet, so grilled meats, baked meats are going to be good to give extra calories. And then I also, if I have a really underweight kid, so a kid that's really struggling, and I know it's related to diet and picky eating, I actually add olive oil to their food. So I tell the parents, especially like the little, the baby, if I have like a 1-year-old or even in the toddler age group as well, we would add olive oil. So they can add, if you do a spoon. So that's another thing about healthy and unhealthy. So olive oil is definitely healthy, but it's not a weight loss tool because oils have almost all the same amount of calories, no matter the type of oil. So if you use olive oil, you're going to get in 1 teaspoon of olive oil, you have about 40 to 50 calories. So just in 5 cc's, so in 5 mLs, you have 40 or 50 calories in there, which is the same amount as like 2.5 ounces of milk are going to be just in 5 cc's of olive oil. So I tell parents if they need to gain weight, they can add that. So if you make mashed potatoes or something, make sure you put cheese in it. You can do it with whole milk, add a little olive oil, mix that up, and then have them eat. So they're getting full calories, full healthy fat and protein calories.
Yeah. You said cheesy mashed potatoes, and I thought, if only I were underweight. No.
I tell the parents, the kids, so I have like all the pickiest, 5-year-old who's just sitting there and she doesn't want to eat anything. And I'm like, you're getting to eat all the food I wish I could eat. Like, come on. Let's He's like, no, I don't like mac and cheese. I don't like mashed potato. I don't like anything. I was like, what?
It's the nap thing too. They don't want to nap. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, I'm so tired. Exactly. It's like, I can sleep. Right? Yeah.
Perspective. Okay. One person asked, what about kimchi?
I am not like, I don't know what do you what about it? As in, is it healthy? Is it not? If it's part of your diet, as I say, if it's part of your regular diet and something that you eat, I think you should encourage, have your kids eat food that you eat. I don't think that there's any health negative, more than any other food or I've not heard of any super health positives around kimchi. I don't use it. I'm not familiar with it where I grew up, whatever, we don't have that as much. But if it's part of your diet, I always tell parents, what the goal that you want to get to, which I don't have in my own house, so I'm not judging anybody, is you want to cook a food and everybody's eating the same food. You do not want to be cooking separate meals for each person, because you want your child to try and eat everything that you also eat. So whatever
Right.
you're eating, they should be sharing in, which is why it's so important for us to be an example for
Definitely
them
good
and be eating
choices.
and making the good choices so that we're all eating healthy together.
That's good. Yeah, we're calling this nutrition for kids, but it's really about it starts here for sure, for
Exactly.
sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Fifi, this has been amazing. So many great questions, and you've just handled it all with such grace. And Chef Patty, you as well. Last thing, Dr. Fifi, tell us, what's the name of your nutrition clinic in case moms want to contact you?
So I do two. So I have two with two separate dietitians. I do one at Jackson Health, which is on a Thursday afternoon. That we do telemedicine one week and we do in-persons as well with a dietitian, Gisela. And so that's, you would just call Jackson appointment line, and it would be the Jackson Pediatric Nutrition Clinic. You could also call my name, but they know it as the Pediatric Nutrition Clinic, or ask your pediatricians. Most of them would know how to refer. The other thing would be, the other one would be at University of Miami, which we do on Monday and Tuesday afternoons. That's within my dietitian, Cara. And that's also in person on Tuesdays and telemedicine on Mondays for now since COVID. And so you could just call the University of Miami appointment line, and they would be able to, which is like 305-243-4000, I believe is the appointment line. And then just ask for the Pediatric Nutrition Clinic or by my name, and they would be able to find me.
Awesome. So they could sign up to come to these clinics that you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So they can. And as I said, every time you see, if you sign up for the nutrition clinic, if you have a specific nutrition issue, because I also do gastroenterology as well. So I take care of like constipated kids and vomiting kids and stuff too. But most of my work is in nutrition. And so that's why I have a dietitian with me. And so most times you would meet the dietitian and myself at each appointment. And then I also work very closely with feeding therapists, so that if it is a picky eater and stuff like that, we work with feeding therapists who can help with with those little aversions or textures or stuff that some kids might have. So it's kind of a comprehensive care.
Amazing. So many resources available right at our fingertips. So this was just outstanding. Thank you so much, ladies. We appreciate you. We're going to put some links up here for you guys so you can screenshot those for later if you want. Just some great resources for you. ChooseMyPlate.gov was one that Dr. Fifi mentioned, a great resource. healthychildren.org. Of course, jacksonevents.org, where you can watch all of the webinars. This one will be live. So if you were listening and you thought, man, I need to share this with my husband, my wife, my friend, it will be live on the website here in about a week. So give us a minute there, but then you can direct them to jacksonevents.org and you can watch all of them. So thank you again for joining us tonight. And please make note, 2 weeks from today. So 2 weeks from today, again, Thursday night at 8 p.m. I think it's the 25th, our next topic is going to be sibling rivalry. So as long as there's more than one child in the house, there's bound to be some sort of sibling conflict, from jealousy and fighting to facilitating better communication between your kids. We are going to tackle this topic and learn how to encourage healthy sibling relationships. So you don't want to miss that. So go ahead and mark your calendars for March 25th. We'll be sharing more. Again, a huge thank you to UHealth Jackson Children's Care. And we hope everyone just has a wonderful weekend. Thank you for joining us